Hello, gamers from around the world. This is Foxenberger, the video game enthusiast from Germany, and I would like to welcome you to today's episode of the World of Gaming. And it's an exciting time because Dutch Saturday is soon, and we're gonna talk about Saturday in a second.
Yes.
But I'm excited. I'm super excited. So big welcome to you guys. Hope you're doing all right. I see the chat is already filling up with a lot of familiar names. Big welcome to you guys, but of course, also a big welcome to everyone who listens after the fact, either here on YouTube or on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, wherever you are listening. A big welcome. Hope everyone is doing all right. Think we're gonna have a great show. Maybe not the longest because we don't have that many topic, but the ones we got are very good. So I'm looking forward to this show. I hope you guys do too. And Dutch, how are you doing, my man?
I'm good. I'm tired, but I'm good. I'm good. Some very late nights this last week.
I can imagine. I can imagine. Let people know why the nights were late for you.
Yeah, so obviously the Indie Showcase is happening this Saturday. I'm looking forward to people watching that. I'm thinking about doing kind of a Q&A afterwards as well about what goes into making a showcase, because I think it's quite a lot to it, especially when it's just by yourself. When it's like the likes of an IGN or an Xbox or something like that, they've got a whole team of people doing things in the background and things like that, and creating things and putting things together. And for this, it's just myself, and I go and source everything, and I keep the kind of work away from the creators that are involved. That is intentional so that they don't have to do too much and respect their time. But yeah, it's a lot of it is rendering pipeline. A lot of it it's graphic and overlays, and then it's making sure the pacing's all right. So you don't want to have kind of just an influx of things that just don't stop. You want to have kind of smidgens of a break, but not too long of a break to take away from the games. So yeah, it's been a lot of rendering, sourcing the trailers, getting the trailers across, getting developer interviews sorted, rendering those out, and then it's busy. In each section, I was just mentioning that before the show. At the moment, the CIS 2024 rendered pipeline section is sitting at a whopping 384 gig on the hard drive so far. So there's a lot of 4K footage that is rendered out now. Trailers, full sections, so for each person that's taking part, their entire section and all the games, the intros, the intro trailers, you name it, the overlays and everything that goes into it.
Yeah.
Very late nights, because you're at the mercy of rendering times. So when something starts to render, you really can't do anything else until it's finished rendering out, and then it's finished, and then you can move on to the next section, and then put all that together, and then render that, and then wait for that. So it's been a lot of waiting. Okay, that's finished. Right, next one. Right, right, next, and then sitting there, and then it's like 2 o'clock in the morning. Like, another 20 minutes till this finishes rendering. Right, move on to the next. So it's been manic.
Yeah, I can only imagine, man. As someone who does content himself, I know how much time it takes to make a 10-minute video. But putting a 2-hour plus show together, having dozens and dozens of different developers sending you their trailers, making sure everything looks smooth, getting the audio right, doing the transitions, doing everything. And I think it is... I don't know anyone else, bro, that does this on his own like you do each and every year. It just shows you how mad you are. But the community absolutely appreciates it, and I cannot wait. I really cannot wait for Saturday. Dutch, how long is it going to be, and how many games will we see?
Yes. So I haven't calculated the exact amount of games so far, but it's touching on 70 titles. So I did put 60 plus in the advertisement, so I'll keep it that way because it might just be just shy of 70. almost it's going to work out at about 2 hours 15 minutes for total run time. So the show officially starts at 7 p.m. I've got a nice starting soon screen there that'll kick off at 6:50, so it'll let everybody get in and ready to rock and roll. So the show run time is excluding the 10 minutes starting soon screen.
Yeah.
So of course total run time is 2 hours 30 or something like that if you include the outro and the intro. But taking those out, the actual runtime of games and the creators that are on there and the developers that are on there is around about 2 hours 15 minutes. So yeah, that's solid games and games for 2 hours and 15 minutes. So,
Sweet. Good stuff, man. Yeah, it's gonna be awesome. And actually we have the trailer
yes.
for the show. But we are not just showing that just yet, because we will come back to Indie Showcase a little later in the show.
Yes.
Because guess what? Those douchebags from IGN try to compete with yours for some reason. But
they did.
Actually, it's not really competition. Come on, bro.
Yeah.
But anyway,
it was nice of them to take the thing and go afterwards and not attempt to compete. They didn't want the smoke.
They didn't want the smoke. They definitely didn't want the smoke. Yeah, man, this Saturday it's gonna be awesome. And again, we will come back to it later, and we definitely will watch the trailer. We're just waiting for everyone to roll into the show. And so, Dutch, let us start by talking about the games that we played. Or did you actually have time to play anything?
I have not. No, I haven't had a chance. I've got, you know what I've got? I've got Tales of Kanzira Zao installed and ready to play. I've got Yuden Chronicles installed and ready to play. And I've also got another Crab's Treasure installed and ready to play, which is a Shells-like game. There's another funny one, actually. Another Crab's Treasure was on our Indie Showcase last year.
Yeah.
And it's now hitting Game Pass this year. So there we go.
There you go.
It seems to be a common occurrence. We show something on the showcase and it appears. So I'm glad.
I would have been surprised if you would have found much gaming time this week. I mean, a few days before the big show, it's obvious you're just busy with putting the showcase together. So yeah, let us know in the chat what you guys have been playing. So Dutch, I played actually quite a few different games.
You know what? We have to play, Boxy.
Tell me.
I completely forgot, because of how busy we've been, I completely forgot it released. The Final Fantasy 16 expansion Rising Tide.
Yes, I've seen that. I didn't play it yet.
Same.
It's down.
I've got it installed.
Yeah, I got it installed as well, but I haven't checked that out because there's just too much at the moment. So I played mainly 3-week games this week. The first is I bought No Rest for the Wicked from Moon Studios, makers of the Ori games. They put No Rest for the Wicked, their brand new action RPG, in early access on Steam.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I got that. Usually I'm not a big fan of early access games because it sometimes feels like you are paying to be a beta tester. You know what I mean? But with this one, I was just so tempted because it looks phenomenal, and I love the Ori games. They are absolutely fantastic. So I had to check this out, and it's actually a fair price at 30 euros. So I thought I'll just give it a try, and for the most part, it runs just fine. You know, I mean, some performance issues here and there, some hiccups, but nothing that bugged me in any way, shape, or form. And the game is absolutely gorgeous. You still can vote in the chat, by the way, whether you want to see some gameplay of No Rest for the Wicked or something else during today's show. And it is like a painting come true, like super colorful, super dark, action RPG. Don't let it fool you. It's like dark and gritty world, but it's still super colorful, amazing art style, just as you expect from Moon Studios. And the same goes for the soundtrack, like really bombastic soundtrack, epic music. The presentation, absolutely fantastic. So the story, or let me start. Where do I start? I have so many thoughts about this game. I don't know where to start, man. Because I thoroughly enjoyed my first couple of hours, because it is a very, very different action RPG. So if anyone expects something like a Diablo or Pillars of Eternity or something along those lines, you will be disappointed with that game. That's not what this game is. At its core, I would say it is a mixture of classic action RPGs and a Souls-like game. So the combat really isn't hack and slash. If you try to hack and slash your way through No Rest for the Wicked, you won't be able to fight the first grunt you encounter. It's like impossible. It's heavily relying on parrying, on dodging, and it has the stamina system, so you can't like swing your sword all the time, and you have to think about, do I want to dodge or do I want to attack? Because you run out of stamina really quickly. And so it is the combat is fairly slow when you compare it to your likes of Diablo, and it is a lot more skill based, obviously. It doesn't have the thing where you lose like XP once you die, like the Souls game do. Once you die, you respawn at the last save point, and the enemies you've killed are still dead, so they don't respawn like in the Souls games. But the combat itself very much reminds me of a Souls-like game, and with that, it comes with difficulty. It's brutally hard. It is like, especially in the first 10 hours or so, until you have finally enough money to upgrade your gear and find some good loot and enchant your weapons and do things like that. It is brutally difficult. It stays brutally difficult, honestly, and it does that in a weird way. It's not like the boss fights. You have these like boss fights like in the Souls games, where you have to like really learn, okay, the mechanics of the boss fight, and they are challenging, yes, but honestly, like the regular enemy you encounter in the world, some of those are so brutally hard, and it is really you have to be prepared to die a lot in that game.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm torn with the game, because I truly do appreciate that they do something different in the action RPG genre, because I have not played an action RPG top-down view, bird's eye view that does something like that. And I'm always pro trying out new things, trying to innovate in certain genres. But on the other hand, it sometimes really feels like unfair and unnecessarily hard. And so I know it's in early access, and they are putting out, by the way, like patch after patch, and they improve a lot of things really quickly. I mean, the game is out for a good week now, and they have already released 3 patches, adjusting the inventory system, adjusting the stamina system, adjusting this and that. They really do listen, and they do try to improve upon the game a lot. But maybe it's just the mood I'm in, but I ran out of patience to grind, to upgrade. I love grinding in games if it's done well, but since it feels just so unforgivingly hard,
Yeah.
You really have to be in the mood to play that game, and it is actually a shame because it does so many things well. You know, the map design is phenomenal. Like you can, the game really invites you to explore the map, and it does that in a very weird way because it doesn't have these pointers on the map. So sometimes you're a little lost, and you kind of have to explore the map in order to find the way to the quest point you want to go. And while doing so, you discover so many cool things, and it's that is really really good. And I also love like how they present the story. You know, it's not like the deepest story so far, but when you compare it to Souls game, like I find the story in Elden Ring, for instance, like there's literally no story unless you read all the notes that you find across the world. And in that they have a properly told story, you know, typical story, like you're on this island and the king is dead, you know, and his heir is a very different kind of king. He wants to fight the plague that has cursed the island, and he partners up with a corrupt like church that they have, where there's this priestess, you know, she plays a big role. I'm not spoiling anything here, but like good storytelling, you know what I mean? Like well presented, all good. If it weren't so hard. So I've played now about 12, 13 hours or so of the game. And it does get a little better once you find a little more loot and have enough resources to upgrade the stuff you have and so on. But overall, it is a little too punishing for me. So I'm taking a pause and see, since it is in early access and you only have access to the first act anyway of the game, I'm taking a pause, you know, and see how they improve it. Wait till they add Act 2 and then give this game another try. So, yeah.
That's I'm just gonna wait until that game hits consoles.
Yeah.
That part will be finished.
Maybe it's not a bad idea to just wait it out and wait for the full release, you know. It's really not because because of the bugs or so. Yes, there are minor things, but honestly, some games that released in full release came out in a worse state. So, but yeah, I feel like difficulty in such things definitely need tweaking. So, yeah, I played that. Then I started Ayuden Chronicles, Dutch. I know you're super excited for it too.
I've got so much FOMO seeing people playing that, knowing I haven't got the time yet to play that. I've got it literally sitting there ready to play, like right there.
Yeah.
But I just haven't had the time. I might kind of play a little section of it tonight while I'm waiting for bits to render. So I might just have it on in the background.
Smart.
Yeah.
Yeah, be prepared. Like the intro takes about 30 minutes.
Okay. Yeah, I can imagine that. A lot of JRPGs do that. Yeah, exactly.
It's a JRPG. So if you go into Ayuden Chronicles and expecting, like, you know, the pacing and the convenience of some Western RPGs, you're gonna get disappointed. It's a full-fledged JRPG. You have to be prepared for that. But I love those, especially those turn-based, like Sea of Stars, Octopath Traveler, those kind of games. If you enjoyed those, Ayuden Chronicles 100 Heroes, 100%. I mean, it's a little early to judge the full game because it is a massive game. You know, you literally play 100 heroes. Yeah, so the title isn't lying to you. Yeah, but I'm only like 3 hours in or so, so it's really too early to judge the full game. But my first impression is it's exactly what you want from a turn-based JRPG. You know, it feels a little easy at first. And I've seen a lot of people on Twitter like, oh, super easy. I play it on a hardcore difficulty, and I haven't died once, yeah, just wait till you finish basically the tutorial area. And you will get your difficulty spikes.
Yeah.
But yeah, so first impressions, Ayuden Chronicles, fun game. If you are into turn-based JRPGs, if you don't like those, you're not gonna enjoy Ayuden, obviously. So, well, then I played that, and then Dutch. I had to play earlier for an hour or so. I checked out Fallout 4 because I started a full playthrough 2 weeks ago again when the TV show dropped and the hype started around Fallout. I started with another playthrough of Fallout 4, and today the patch dropped. Yeah, the current gen patch. I'm not calling it next gen patch because, bro, we are already talking about next gen. Yeah, and the current gen patch dropped, and it is beautiful. Like, even in performance mode, crystal sharp image quality, high quality textures, 60 FPS. It's awesome, man. And it's Fallout in 60. It's beautiful. So yeah, let us see what the community has been playing. Aunt Jemima plays Gears of War 2. Awesome.
Nice.
I had the ally on Monday or Tuesday with me because I had to travel a little bit for work for one night. And I was sitting there and I was really like debating, man, should I do another Gears playthrough? I feel the itch, bro. I feel the itch, and with all the rumors, it's for me. It's replay the OG trilogy. I've been thinking about it, man.
Would you play the OG original, or would you play the enhanced version that they released for the first one, and then do 2 and 3?
The enhanced version, and then do 2 and 3. Yeah. Obviously. I mean, the I don't know what it was called, like Definitive Edition or something. It was real Ultimate Edition or something like that.
That's the one,
Yeah, it was like really well done. I thought they did a great job with that. I wish they did it for 2 and 3. So,
well, you never know about this Marcus Phoenix collection.
Maybe. I have a feeling. Well, we get to that. Dustin Lambert is still playing Diablo 4, but they didn't have much gaming time. Still, you never can go wrong with Diablo 4. Siki has been playing Dead Island 2 and Diablo 4, and he's gonna jump into Fallout 4 on PC soon. It's cool.
Ghost Picks are just above Siki.
Yeah. I hope I didn't miss anyone, but yeah.
Yeah, Ghost Picks, I was playing Kingdom Hearts 1.5 chapters. Never played them fully. It's been fun so far.
Ooh. Kingdom Hearts.
I'm a big Kingdom Hearts fan.
I know you are. Rightfully so. They are good, man. They are really good.
Yeah.
Wasn't there a new one announced?
It was announced a while ago.
It was a long time, right? Yeah. And they've gone down on those.
There was rumors that there's been loads of rumors that it would be exclusive to PlayStation and stuff. But after they released Kingdom Hearts 3, which was successful on all, I can't see them going back to doing an exclusivity deal for the next one. I think that's going to be a full PC, Xbox, PlayStation release at launch.
Yeah. So I'm gonna close the poll for the gameplay. Fallout 4 won. I feel like people are really in a Fallout mood, bro.
They are. Is that a recording of the enhanced version or not yet?
I have about an hour or so of but I have to switch. I thought I put in default the No Rest for the Wicked because I thought people are gonna vote for that. But hey, people have spoken. So I have some footage from the enhanced version, but only like 45 minutes or 60 minutes or so, because I had to record it during my lunch break today. So
Yes.
But yeah, look at that beauty. It is like crystal sharp, runs butter smooth. Set your players to 1440 at least. That's where we stream, and we stream at 60, so should look good even on stream here now. But yeah, man, Fallout hype. Let's start with that, man. It's like crazy. Did you see the other day Fallout 76 passed their all-time record and had 1 million players in 24 hours?
Yep, and across all games, 5 million players in 24 hours.
Yeah, true. That is absolutely insane. And I mean, all those games. Fallout 76 is now what, 8 years old already.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's an ongoing game, but even games like Fallout 4, Fallout New Vegas, Fallout 3, they all have like that's the beauty about Steam, right? You can see how many people are playing it. Actually, it has a lot of players, and the hype is still going. It's crazy if you think about it. I mean, I thought, obviously, after the show was awesome. Everyone's hyped, but the hype didn't die off. People still play all those Fallout games. When I scroll through my timeline, everyone's playing like a Fallout game, whether it's 76 or Fallout 4 or the GOAT, New Vegas.
Yeah.
You know, it's crazy. What do you think about this?
Yeah, it's great to see it breathe new life into it. To be fair, I also jumped into Fallout 4 before I started the grind into showcase making, and I jumped into Fallout 4 again for a few hours the other day and started a brand new save and was enjoying it. And I can understand it. I can understand why. It's one of those games, much like the Elder Scrolls, where you can just get lost in the world and go on your own adventures, and you can do a mission if you want, or you can just go and explore, or you can, if you want to do town building, you can go and build your own settlement, and there's just so much to do in the game, and it's interesting characters and stories and typical Bethesda jank in there as well, which is great.
Yeah.
But no, it's just fun, and everyone has their own favorites. And again, seeing new people jump onto Fallout 76 for the first time, 1 million of which in one day is insane. Most of those new players as well. It's great to see, but it's the effects of what you would class as effective marketing, and Fallout the TV show was a very effective marketing tool.
Oh yeah, Amazon marketed the hell out of this.
It's on all the buses here. It's on all the buses here.
On all the buses, I've seen billboards, I've seen TV commercials, I've seen online commercials. It's like kind of marketing Microsoft never does, you know.
Yeah. And it's well worth. It's just a fun game to get into, and
absolutely.
Like I say, unfortunately, the new patch has broken a lot of people's mods on the game. So, and I've seen somebody's unfortunately. I was looking on Twitter, and he had a 478-hour save that's broken now because of the update, because it obviously had mods and things attached to it. So there's a lot of people waiting until some of these mods have been patched and fixed so they can go on and play it again.
Yeah, but I had a feeling. I was thinking about like modding the game out for my current playthrough, but I had a feeling that this might happen because like the guy that wanted to release the London mod, you know,
delayed it indefinitely.
He delayed it indefinitely because of that patch, because he was straight up front, my mod is not going to work, so I'm gonna wait for the patch and then readjust the mod so everyone can play it. And I had a feeling that this might happen with some of the other mods as well, so I decided to hold off. Now that it's out, I'm gonna give the modders a few days until they bring out the patches for the mods, and then I'm gonna mod the hell out of Fallout 4, because I don't give a shit about achievements, so I can mod it as much as I want. Yeah. Only shame, Dutch, and I put out a tweet about this that went a little viral, is that we are not probably not gonna get a
Fallout game for a
Fallout game
while.
for a long time.
Yeah.
And with all the hype and excitement that Fallout is getting right now, I mean, yeah, it's kind of hard to time it along with the show. But if you see how much love this IP can get and how interested people can be in that world, in that lore, kind of feels like a very sad thing to think about, that Fallout 5 is probably not coming out until the mid-30s.
Yeah, it's at least a decade away, minimum.
Yeah, around about, I would say, like a decade. I mean, Elder Scrolls, what do we assume here? 28, 29, somewhere in that ballpark. And then you add another 5 to 6 years for Fallout 5 at least, you know?
Yeah.
So I surely hope. Xbox has so many studios, and like Obsidian, yeah, and they've said last year multiple times, yeah, we would love to do New Vegas too. We would love to go back to Fallout. I sure hope that some other studio, I mean, they have so many talented studios now, get to take a shot at the IP, because I feel like it's the same with Elder Scrolls. Like, having, I don't know, 15 to 20 years in between two mainline games is simply too long.
Well, that's why, I mean, that's why Obsidian's essentially doing their own version of a fantasy RPG as well, I think.
Yeah.
It's because I think they would have liked to do their take on an Elder Scrolls, but that's why we're getting Avowed. It's essentially their take on the Elder Scrolls formula, and it's going to be different, and that's exactly what we liked about it, and it's why we have this awesome studio Obsidian, and they will release another game in between there that fans of Fallout should hopefully like, which is the Outer Worlds 2. I think one good thing that could come out of this in more the long term for the next Fallout is that newcomers to the Fallout series based on the Fallout TV show, and people who have just come into the series or people that have picked it up for the first time and thoroughly enjoy their experience on that, when there is an announcement of the next Fallout, whenever that may be, they'll be hyped for that, and they'll be looking forward to picking that up based on playing these older titles that they're just getting into today. So there's some knock-on effect that could happen for the future title, but again, being able to capitalize on something when it is popular is just, it's unfortunate, because we know the release cadence of Bethesda is just, it's a long one.
I mean, they make big-ass games.
Yeah,
well, I don't know. If you think about Elder Scrolls, Daggerfall, to Morrowind, to Oblivion. I mean, I know it was a different time. All games take a lot longer these days.
Yeah.
But you had the 360 generation, had 2 Elder Scrolls games and 2 Fallout games with Fallout 3 and New Vegas. Yeah? And then you think about the Xbox One generation, that was just as long. You know, it had 1 Fallout game, no Elder Scrolls, and we have the current gen that has had Starfield, but will probably not have Elder Scrolls, because I feel Elder Scrolls is gonna be next gen, man. And
I mean, we know they've already started on it, because they've been talking about the fact that they've been essentially play testing early builds of it and things like that. So we know they're kind of in the works of the very early stages of creating that game, but it is going to take a long time to get together. It's going to take a long time.
Definitely.
And it depends how big they make it. Like Skyrim's map was big, but you know what these modern games are and how big they can get. And I think the map is going to be substantially bigger for the next.
Yeah, I think so too. Todd Howard said he wants to make the ultimate high fantasy simulator. you know.
Yeah.
And that just tells you the ambition that he has, and he
And
probably
so,
knows
it is
it's
the biggest map for a high fantasy I think I've ever played. Ultimately, was Witcher. That map was ginormous.
that was indeed one gigantic map. I'm just thinking now about sheer map size. But hey, map size shouldn't matter. It's just like
The good
I
thing
feel
is the way
like
that
maps are big enough. You know, it's the way how you fill those maps.
exactly. I was going to say Witcher managed to do that well.
Yeah,
We managed to do it
absolutely.
well, and Skyrim did it well as well for me. It's the mystery of what's around the corner or what's happening or
Yeah.
which random bandits. Like I come across and I completely forgot when I was playing Skyrim last time when I turned it on when I had that urge. Completely forgot about the vampire DLC thing that they added to it.
Oh yeah.
And I,
Good one.
and I
Good
went
one.
and I was walking to the next destination and I got attacked by a group of vampires and I was like, what? I completely forgot they were in the game. So and that was just a completely random occurrence that attacked some random village somewhere and just happened to stumble across them. Um, but that's what these open worlds need. They just need these points of interest that are very well dotted around the map to keep the entire thing interesting, no matter how big it is. And that's the only thing that stops big open worlds being interesting to explore is they don't have these points of interest that people want to
Yeah.
explore randomly, and
Yeah.
it just becomes a big open map that looks pretty, but there's otherwise nothing to do there and nothing to see. And I think that was part of Starfield's downfall, was as much as you could explore these random places on these random planets, the vast majority, apart from bunkers that were all copy and paste, and there was nothing to explore.
Yeah.
There was nothing to see. Which was one of the issues. There wasn't really anything going for them.
Yeah.
In comparison to the likes of Witcher and Skyrim that had these random moments that kept you interested.
Yeah.
The only random moments you really had were maybe in space and you'd come across someone that would say something on the airwaves and you'd have a fight.
There's tons of content in there that you can discover, but I do agree. Those come across mostly in the main planets and some of the side planets. But like if you just go into space, I do agree. Yeah, it felt like the
Too few and
procedural
far between.
generation of the bases and everything.
Yeah.
They didn't feel the same way like they did in Skyrim. I do agree there.
Yeah.
I do agree there. Still a great game though. I can't wait for Shattered Space, man. Yeah, but and Todd Howard. See, what I do have the feeling. I mean, the guy doesn't look like it, but he's not getting any younger. You know, I don't know how many more Elder Scrolls and Fallout games will he.
I think he's got one of each left in him.
Yeah, that's my feeling too. Like he's doing Elder Scrolls 6 now, so his final Elder Scrolls game. Then he does a Fallout final one, and maybe one other Starfield. And by the time that comes out,
here's an interesting question for you.
Yeah,
because I feel like this is when we're in the realms of staple IPs. When will we get to the point where we say, okay, enough is enough? This IP has been going on for like 7 decades now. Like, how much more of this IP can we realistically do that'll be different from the previous one? Like, how much are we going to still retain interest in those IPs after that much time? Like, what do we get to the point where we've got Halo 10, and we've got like The Last of Us 5, or we've got like Elder Scrolls 10 or whatever it is? Like, how many of them can we get to realistically before we say we're going to have to put these IP to bed?
That's a very interesting question.
It's an interesting thing to think about, because at the moment the Gears and the Halos and the Last of Us and the God of Wars and the Elder Scrolls, and these are all staple IPs today. if we look back 2 decades ago, a lot of them were just in their infancy or not even in existence. But if we fast forward in time now, and we're talking about like Elder Scrolls 6, and we're talking about like,
listen, as long as they are quality, you can go on forever. Look at Mario and Zelda and Pokemon. Those IPs have been around for what now? And Sonic for 3, 4 decades, you know?
Yeah, I was going to say the issues you've got with the likes of even Pokemon now, as big of a massive Pokemon fan I am, it's a case of, are you doing enough to advance the series? And ultimately, that's going to be harder and harder as the series goes on. And as
I know.
Pokemon has evolved, it's kind of evolved, but ultimately, you as much like okay, it's went from being a 2D top down to being a 3D open world, but you're still going to gyms. You still have the elite series that you've got to do at the end of the gym sequence, and you still have this underlying threat.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it's the same thing in a fresh coat.
But and that is the problem with all ongoing IPs, you know?
Yeah.
Look at Gears. It was like when Gears 5 came out, everyone was like, yeah, another Gears. It's always the same. And then they tried to innovate to some degree. Yeah? They added these open areas and the side missions and stuff, and people were like, yeah, that's not Gears anymore. That's not Gears.
Yeah.
You know?
That's the problem, isn't it?
So it is hard. And the same goes for like when you look at Fallout 4. Fallout 4 was a great game, but when it came out, everyone was like, yeah, but it's not Fallout 3.
Yeah. Not quite New Vegas.
Or yeah, it's not New Vegas. And this is really the problem that every IP has, yeah? How much do you innovate and leave the original formula? I feel like God of War did a great job. If you think about the OG God of Wars, and then with 2018. Well, you've got to think,
I was going to say it, when we're touching on characters, is another problem they've got entirely, because you're going to have to suspend belief if you're going to retain these characters for the entirety of the series. Like, realistically, how long is Master Chief going to be alive? Realistically, Kratos will have to die at some point. Realistically, you know what I mean?
And it brings, I feel like what you kind of have...
The Witcher, in this instance, has its original, the Grey Wolf trilogy, which is Geralt. And with the next one, it's an entirely different Witcher. And this is what is going to keep The Witcher kind of alive going forward, is they now going down a fresh route.
And it also helps to bring in new fans.
Exactly.
I feel like that's what Halo is maybe suffering right now, because the stories all kind of build upon, in order to understand Halo 2 properly, you should have played Halo 1. To understand 3, you have to play the first 2. To understand 4, you have to play the others. You know what I mean? I know the stories in themselves stand on their own, but if someone comes into Halo Infinite's story without having played any previous Halo games, it's gonna be you're gonna have a hard time to understand the story. So I feel like if you wanna let your IP run for decades, you kind of have to have that break in the storyline at least, yeah? Like reboot the entire thing. If you want to keep the Master Chief, just reboot the entire thing, you know? Because people do not want to play like 7, 8, 10 older games just to understand the story of the new one that they actually want to play. You know what I mean? And at some point, if you run your IP for decades, you have an entirely new generation. I mean, it's a little different with games like Fallout and Elder Scrolls, because they all have their close storylines. Yeah, you can absolutely play Fallout 4 and get the entire story from start to finish without having played any prior Fallout game. Same goes for Elder Scrolls and so on.
Same goes for The Witcher.
The same. Yeah, well, Yes and yes and no. I feel like Witcher
I mean,
had
if
a
you want to
Witcher
know Geralt,
3.
if you want to know Geralt's specific backstory, then yes. If you
Yeah, but
don't, if you're not bothered about his full backstory, then the entirety of The Witcher 3 doesn't require it, because it introduces the characters in a way that I think would interest new people
I
regardless.
agree. I agree. You can play The Witcher 3 and understand the story
Yeah,
without having played
because
them, but you get a
because
lot
of the,
more
I
out
think
of
it's
it
because of
if you
the,
have.
yeah, I think it's because of the antagonists, of course, of Witcher 3, the Wild Hunt.
Yeah.
It's more focused on who are the Wild Hunt and why are they here and why are they doing this, and
Uh,
that is the more the focus than anything else. And I think that intrigued me when I was playing Witcher 3
mm.
over the Killer of Kings from the second Witcher.
Yeah, but the
Like
killer
that
of
was
kings isn't the point. The point is
yeah
about his relationship to Ciri and Yennefer,
yeah
and where what is the problem with the memory loss and where does that come
yeah
from and things like that. I agree. You can play The Witcher 3 and without having played 1 and 2 and fully get the
yeah.
story. You can do the same with Halo Infinite. But do you really understand the story of Halo Infinite if you don't know what's going on? You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
I think the difference with Halo Infinite though is it starts off where everything's like, especially at the beginning, it starts off everything's blowing up. Some big dude with a hammer's like hitting Master Chief
Yeah.
off the ship, and you're like, "What is going on? Who are these people? Why are they fighting?" Like for anybody who's just jumping into them, they don't know who the Banished are. They don't like this is the first thing that they've seen Master Chief, and he's getting brutalized by by
Yeah,
this big guy. And everything's blowing up and absolutely going to hell. And so there is no like concept of what the hell's going on here because
that's
nobody
true.
knows at the beginning if you've never been into it. But with The
Yeah,
Witcher, I think it's just the way they started the
different.
stories
Yeah, it's
just
different.
so better,
I
so much better.
agree. Yeah, I agree there. I agree.
And I would say the same for Gears. Like like on especially Gears 5, they're introducing all these like older characters and like, hey, it's such and such. And for people like me and you and everybody who's played all of the Gears series, they'll know all of these characters that are coming back on screen.
Yeah.
Oh look, it's Blade there. Great, okay, Coltrane's there, sweet.
Mm.
But if you've never played the series and these two old guys are coming back and they're cracking all of these jokes that you'd only know if you've played the previous games, you're
Yeah.
like, what?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Dutch.
Yes.
Let us transition over to VR. You've seen this? I hope, or I assume most have seen that. That Meta is partnering up with Xbox. They open up their Meta Quest OS to third-party hardware makers. So they also kind of partnered up with Lenovo and Asus. But of course, since we are like gaming podcast here, our partnership focus is here definitely on Xbox. And so far, I've seen very different takes on this. What this partnership means. Some, of course, say, "Ooh, Xbox getting now a VR headset." Others say, "Well, it's just a partnership that has like the branding logo on it because it comes along with the controller and you can obviously play games on there." What do you think? I mean, was kind of a surprise. I have not seen any rumors or anything about this partnership. So what do you think? What does it mean? Where they will go with that? Do you think Xbox is finally getting VR? Because if you remember, Phil Spencer during the Scorpio reveal, the reveal of the Xbox One X in, what was that, 2017 or so, said, VR, they are not making one themselves, but hey, we want to partner up with someone. And so, what do you think, man, before I give my take?
So this is going to, it's not even VR, to be in all honesty, because it's MetaQuest, although it is VR for them, ultimately the ideal moving forward is more mixed reality. Mixed reality is a mixture between VR and AR. And that is not new to Microsoft. Microsoft have partnered with Lenovo and many others to create mixed reality headsets for many years. And they've got, if you have a look on the Microsoft Store, you will come across dozens of mixed reality headsets that can be purchased today that are in partnership with Microsoft. I think the difference here, however, is that MetaQuest OS is the most popular operating system for AR, VR, and mixed reality in use today. Outside of the Steam's version, Valve's version, I keep forgetting what the name of that is.
The Oculus Quest.
Yes, the Oculus Quest. Yes, they see, but in terms of the actual operating system, yeah, the MetaQuest OS is by far the most popular, and that's because they offer at the moment with their headsets should we say the most affordable way to get into that, and be completely disconnected from anything. It's kind of a wireless zone, which is great, and offer a good experience to boot. Them opening the operating system and allowing developers to create their own headsets for their own purposes, whether that be smaller headsets specifically for fitness, as they described, or for watching films, or for office-based, or whatever they want to do, and working with them to create that is a great step forward. And I like the way that the robot that he is described, the fact that PC has notoriously always been open source, and he wants to keep it that way, and in such doing so, provide his operating system as open source. The great thing is, and I think what people will probably not understand from what I got from this, is that this, which they kind of teased in a little section there, the Xbox branded version of the MetaQuest MR, mixed reality headset that allows you to place a massive screen there and play games, I think will be standalone and have nothing to do with plugging into a console at all. It'll be its own headset. It will be potentially cloud-based, or it will come with a smaller operating system on the headset that will allow you to install games to it, or plug in an SD card or something like that, and play games that way.
Maybe streaming.
Yeah, or streaming, or a mixture of both. It might allow you to have a certain amount on it. Like I think the MetaQuest and MetaQuest Pro, or whatever it is, have different versions of storage capabilities on them, as well as just the capabilities of the headset. So I think it'll be along the lines of that. It'll be more a standalone mixed reality headset that is more focused on an Xbox peripheral. It'll be, as they kind of showed it in the trailer, this black and green headset, which is kind of, I like the way that he did that as well. He's kind of focused on the fact that it's like a black and green headset in the colors of an Xbox, to kind of stand out, as to show something different. And it comes packaged with a controller and Game Pass. And I think him seeing packaged with Game Pass would kind of more arch towards being a streaming device to allow you to stream games via Game Pass on a mixed reality headset. And if you're connected to the Wi-Fi, which is really what you're going to be doing with these headsets, then the quality of the Xbox Game Pass streaming will be of decent quality anyway. Like the streaming version of it on PC, which is ultimately what it will be on the headset, is good. The streaming version on console is not so great, but it does the job. But the PC version of game streaming for cloud is actually really good quality. It's significantly better quality than it is on console. And I think it's a good way of them to get into it without really pushing the boat out too far. And I also think pricing-wise, that structure will also work favorably over, and I think it'll be like the £300-400 mark if it's arched that way, which I think will then give the upper hand over just going dedicated VR. I think the problem with VR is that people get enclosed into this one section, and it doesn't really offer anything beyond what you're doing. Whereas mixed reality, you're still in the space that you're sitting in, everything's still as it is, but now all of a sudden you've got a 100-inch screen in front of you as opposed to just this little goggle in front. So it's an entirely different experience, and I think it's a good way to get into it. But it will be an entirely separate device that does not connect to the console. And I think Microsoft, the way they've been wanting to do things, is having more ways and more places to play would fall absolutely in line with this. If we're thinking about it long term, a mixed reality headset, a handheld, consoles, PC, mobile, like that is everything covered they could possibly cover.
Yeah, but that's actually the reason why I am not sure where they are going with this partnership. I mean, this is the first step, basically similar step than Apple Apple was obviously forced to open up the iOS store to bring like things like streaming xCloud to iOS, but this is a little different. And with all the things that we have learned this year from Xbox and their business strategy going forward, like you said, they want to be on everything. And I feel like when Phil talked about Epic Game Store coming to console and starting their own mobile store and things like that, you can just tell they want to be on really like every device, just like you said. But obviously it would make absolutely sense to have like some sort of direct connection to the box, to the Xbox and even the PC store, maybe, depending on...
I mean, you never know, because the way they've mentioned the PC dedicated version for workflow, for the headset, which would allow other people to do that, would mean that you don't require a screen, which could also be where Xbox go, okay, so maybe we can connect our, if you don't want to stream it, you might be able to do wireless, or you can just connect the headset to the Xbox and just have a giant screen.
Exactly, like things like that, experience your Xbox console library on the big screen that is the headset, where you have like a 200-inch screen and can play like fully immersed in a very different way. And I definitely could see them do that. In terms of bringing like, because I've seen a lot of people now finally we get VR games on Xbox, like, you know,
I don't think that.
Half-Life, Alyx, and things like that to the headset. I don't think that this is what this is, but I definitely could see them do this thing where you just either plug in or do it wireless.
You know what the good thing about that is as well, Boxy? You know what the really good thing about that is as well is people who cannot afford to get these big screens and things like that, and people who usually play on monitors, or if the entire room is filled with people doing their own thing and watching the TV and things like that, you can just go and sit yourself somewhere and get your headset on. You've got your own personal screen.
Big ass screen. I mean, not everyone has the space, you know, to put in a 200-inch beamer. You know,
or a 100-inch screen for that matter. Never mind 200.
Or whatever.
It's a good way of getting more people to be able to play in, as we've mentioned with the handhelds as well, is when you've got kids and they want to play something and you want to play something, and you just that's a benefit to adults that I think is there as well. The modern family don't have enough space or time to be able to do their own thing at the same time. If one person wants to watch one thing, the kids want to do another thing, you want to do something, but there's only one or two screens available, so you can't. So being able to have separate devices, okay, I'm going to play on the handheld while the kids watch the TV or play the Xbox on there, or I'm going to put my headset on and play on the Xbox this way. It gives it gives options for people.
It gives options, and I definitely could see them do that. But again, I don't think that we will see like native VR games.
No, definitely not.
coming.
You know why?
At least
You know
not in
why
the
that is?
foreseeable future. Who knows where we will be in like 10 years and what will happen? But
But
with this
you know
partnership,
why that is, though, Boxy.
yeah,
Microsoft have said, and this is Microsoft themselves have said this many times, and which is why they've focused specifically on AR and mixed reality. They see more of a benefit to the possibilities of mixed reality and AR than they ever have with VR. They don't see VR as something that will ever truly live up to the requirements, whereas mixed reality and AR will allow a sense of immersion that is impossible in VR, because you are combining actual reality with completely virtual reality. That gives a completely different experience entirely. And that's not to say there aren't going to be some. I think there's going to be some VR applications, but they're not going to be playable stuff. As we've mentioned before, it'll be things like experiences and videos and things like that they can implement. But ultimately, the game playing thing, it's just not something Xbox or Microsoft have ever been interested in with regards to VR. MR and AR is something that they've always been working with, so I think that'll continue.
Yeah. Agree, man. Let's stick with Xbox for a minute, man, and let's talk about IGN and the Xbox. And
yes, let's do that. Sneakies.
Sneaky bastards. This week, Xbox announced an indie showcase, an ID at Xbox showcase partnered with IGN that will air next week. And sometimes I wonder why they are doing that, because when you look at the history of Xbox and IGN, they've never done them any justice. Like if you talk about Xbox tags, you just have to look at what IGN does, and you know it's real. So for some reason, they keep partnering up with them, and they're gonna air an indie showcase. Now, we already mentioned that at the beginning of the show. You have a big indie showcase coming up yourself this weekend. How do you feel about this ID at Xbox IGN thing?
Yeah, I mean, the only reason Xbox are continuing to work with IGN is because of their size. If they weren't as big as they were, they wouldn't work with them. That's the bottom line. I know that. I've heard that. They can't avoid them because they are a massive company.
Yes, they are.
They're the largest media company in gaming, so they can't avoid them. So they have to, in order to get the biggest eyes on them. Personally, I believe that they'd be better off doing their own ID at Xbox Showcase on their own channels, doing the same kind of format they would do for a regular AAA showcase. Personally, I think that would do them more justice. Treat them like you would the AAAs. Do a full-fledged ID at Xbox, like AAA showcase, as it were. Give them the full experience. I think they deserve that over the way that the ID at Xbox crossed with IGN do, because they sit there, they talk, they spend far too much time yabbering on. 9 times out of 10, they don't have it. They completely get the names wrong of the games that are getting shown off. They incorrectly pronounce them. They don't even know when they're talking to the developers. Like they do a full 30-minute interview with a developer mid-showcase. Then they show 2 games, then they go for a break, and then they have ad breaks. And that's not how you showcase the games off. Imagine if they did that on the June showcase for Xbox. There'd be absolute hell on. I don't understand why they treat indie developers so differently from the big AAAs. And I think if they showcased the ID at Xbox stuff the way that they went and showcased the proper stuff, and this goes for every platform, if they had a full-on showcase and treat them the same way they do the AAAs, I think more people would actually be interested in the indie scene, full stop.
Yeah.
Because it wouldn't be like, okay, this is like the little stepbrother that nobody cares about.
Yeah.
It would be respected. And I think these little showcases that they do where they just kind of slap somebody else to look at them, I don't think it does them justice.
Yeah.
I think it takes more away from them than it does anything else.
Couldn't agree more. Indie games provide us some of the best gaming experiences out there these days. As much as I do enjoy my AAA games, don't get me wrong, and I truly do. Obviously, with the costs that are involved into making those, these big publishers don't take risks anymore. That's why when people talk about this, the Ubisoft formula and things like that, it's obvious. If you have to invest $100 million, $200 million into making a game, you kind of want to make sure that what you do works. And of course, if you take certain risks in gameplay design, in storytelling design, or in an artistic risk or so, and you invest $100 million plus into making that, that's kind of hard in this day and age, and that's why we see a lot of the AAA games do not innovate on gameplay, on storytelling and things like that, and that's where indies shine. Yeah, those smaller developers, super small studios, or solo developers that don't have that high budget, they kind of have to take the risk, because if you're one guy or two guys or five guys trying to make the next Assassin's Creed game, you're definitely gonna fail. Yeah, because it simply requires the sheer amount of manpower to make those huge open world games. But if you look at innovative storytelling, on great gameplay ideas, things that do not work, like a couple of weeks ago, Blade Jusant, like, fantastic game. It is like a super calming game that basically innovates around the climbing mechanic. And all you do in that game is basically climb stuff.
And the entire purpose of the game, just climb, get to the top. And
you get to the top of a mountain, and that's end of story. But it is like, okay, nobody would take that risk to make a game around climbing in the AAA space. You know what I mean? And with such a phenomenal experience. And at the very end of the game, the outcome of the story behind this was just beautiful. Like these kind of experiences, that you can only find that in indie games these days. And so,
and you know what it is? Indie developers are taking far greater risks, not only in terms of games, but in terms of themselves taking far greater risks than any AAA studio ever will. Because they're going out, they're having to source the funding themselves, then they're having to justify, if they do a Kickstarter, that Kickstarter to people to get them to invest all by themselves. They've got to self-market the game themselves. They've got to try and get someone to publish if they're not self-publishing. They've got to go out and get investors in if they can to get more funds generated. If they are solo, they've then got to try and generate enough money from the investors in order to get another person on if they need help. There's so much more risk, and if it fails, that money is lost and they're in debt. There is no coming back. They can't fail. It has to work when they release these games.
Yeah.
Indie, like AAA, if a game fails, it fails onto the next.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, there are certain ramifications about that as well. I mean, look at how many layoffs we've seen across all studios, publishers of all kind of size.
But they get far more chances. Is kind of what I'm trying to say.
I definitely agree with you. Also, by the way, when you talk about like broken games, if you look at that in the AAA space, how broken some games release, and it takes them months and months to fix. An indie game can't do that. If
No.
it misses it has one shot at coming out, you know. I'm not saying that there are not some broken ass indie games out there. Yeah, obviously there are, but yeah, that's why you put an indie showcase together in the first place, right? To just give indies a chance to shine without the like Twitch like fluff around it. No weird like moderators, just game after game after game, just how you want a showcase to be. Then have like maybe a 1 or 2 minute comment of some random dude like me in there, and then move on and show game after game after game. And that's how you do a showcase, bro. And I think it's time we show the trailer to everyone here for Saturday. 7 p.m. UK time, 8 p.m. Central Europe, 2 p.m. Eastern. No idea what that's in Pacific, but you guys figure it out.
I think it's 11. I think it's 11 a.m. Pacific.
Maybe. I don't know. But you have put together a fantastic show. Runtime is just above 2 hours, like you mentioned earlier in the beginning of the show. But that you were kind enough to provide me the trailer for this awesome showcase, and I'm a little sorry for those who do listen on audio only now, because obviously you won't be able to watch the trailer on Spotify and Apple Podcast. But then you just skip ahead for 3 minutes and you're right back to the showcase. So yeah, I'm just gonna let the trailer run here right now. I'm gonna mute ourselves here. Enjoy, guys.
Something's wrong, I feel it circling like vultures around my brain. Couldn't see the danger in your eyes. you lose to love and glory.
All right. So, let us know in the chat, what did you think about the trailer? Are you guys excited for the community indie showcase? Who's gonna watch? Let us know in the chat. We definitely want to hear your thoughts. Dutch, what do you think? How much time did it take you to put the thing together?
I've been working on it since officially started working on it in October, and solid working time has probably been at least 300 hours. At least 300 hours worth of solid working time on it.
So, guys, that just tells you how much effort Dutch is putting in each and every year into the community indie showcase. So, yeah, I know a few games that will be there. We know there will be world premieres in there. There will be no fluff in between.
No
it's
fluff.
Game after game.
And the first time this year, we're doing some post-show developer interviews as well. So I can say 2 developers I've got doing post-show interviews are Joe from Button Factory Games, who's talking about his new game Edge of Allegoria, which we'll be showcasing and doing a full interview on that, and on how he's a solo developer, so how he got into it, how he created the game, etc., and a little bit about the story and the combat and the mechanics, so you get a good understanding of that. Then we've also got an interview with Thomas Salah, who did Bulwark, Falconeer Chronicles, and Falconeer, and also discussing the future of the Falconeer universe, his next game, what he's planning to do for the next game, and give us a breakdown of the plans for that new title as well that is already early in the works. So you'll get a good understanding of brand new game that is coming out from Thomas Salah. He's only just released this one. He's got a year's worth of free updates coming for the game as well. That's going to add expansions and everything onto it. But also discussing his new game that has a working title now as well. So those will be available directly after the showcase. We've got Aaron Greenberg back this year as well to showcase some ID at Xbox titles. So actually, we'll be showcasing ID at Xbox titles on this show. That will be before it goes on the ID at Xbox show. So thanks, Aaron. And obviously awesome community guys on. So we've got Deadly Headley on. We've got yourself. We've got Pong Soul and Steel Rain. We've got Everborn Saga and Asante. Thomas Salah's introducing the Wired production section for their games as well. And so I had those trailers ready to rock and roll as well. So some awesome new games there. For the first time this year, I've also created a specific section for indie horror games, ranging from smaller titles to AAA indie horrors. So there's a good 15-20 minute section of there which is just horror titles. So that's going to be very interesting as well. So
awesome.
Yeah, there's a good literal mix of everything you can imagine game genre wise. This is for every console. So again, for everybody tuning in, no matter what you play on, whether it be on Xbox, whether it be on PC, PlayStation, Nintendo, whether it be on mobile, everybody's covered. There's even some VR games in there, indie VR games. Some very interesting ones, actually. One of them made me wish I had a VR headset for it, because if you grew up in the arcades, it's something that you would absolutely love to play. It's kind of an arcade cabinet. It's an arcade simulator, but you can play every one of the arcade cabinets as well. So it could be kind of little side games, or it's old-fashioned retro video games whilst you're in VR. So yeah, fantastic games showcasing there, and I can't wait for people to see it. There's some, like I say, ranging from solo dev stuff all the way through to AAA stuff that will compete essentially graphically with what you would expect from a AAA studio. So something for everybody. It's going to be it's going to be fun.
Oh yeah, it definitely will be, and I cannot wait. And I can only say it again. Big thank you on behalf of the entire community, Dutch, for really putting the effort in and putting this together. Cannot wait this Saturday, live on YouTube. It's gonna be awesome, man. It's gonna be awesome, and we will probably advertise it again a little bit more towards the end of the show, because people can just drop in and out of this podcast, so some might not have heard it by the end of the podcast. So but let us stick with Xbox, and specifically with Gears 6. It's something interesting happened. I mean, listen, a couple of weeks ago we got the rumor about Gears 6 might be at the showcase this year, and it's gonna look incredible, and we got that quote-unquote insider leak, but I don't feel like this is a real insider leak. It's with a lot of the leaks we get recently, like everyone in our community could have guessed that. You know, I could have just come out and say, well, listen, I gotta. My source tells me that Gear 6 is gonna be there. It's a super educated guess. I mean, it's been a while. It's been 4 or 5 years now since we had Gears 5. So it's probably about time. It's either this or next year. So you have a 50-50 shot at least. More like probably 70-30 shot if you come out and say, hey, my source told me this. So it's an educated guess. This week, Dutch, we got a little more than that.
Yes.
It was very interesting because the actor that plays JD, Marcus Phoenix' son, was asked how they're gonna handle his death in Gears 6, and he answered the following: I have no idea. Gears of War tells us all in June.
Yeah, it's pretty much in your face there.
Pretty much in your face. Pretty much in your face, so it's...
I think you put out another tweet after that saying, are we okay, Xbox?
I didn't see that, but that's cute. Yeah, I mean, so it's basically all but confirmed. Gear 6 is going to be there. And also, you don't have to be an insider to say it's going to look phenomenal. Because we all know...
if anybody's going to get Unreal Engine 5 working to its true extent, it'll be the Coalition. I mean, they literally worked with Epic to get that engine sorted, so...
Yeah.
If they know how to work it, it's them.
Absolutely. Yeah. And what do you expect from a Gear 6?
Hopefully they've learned from some things that, I mean, I don't want to see them shy away from trying new things like they did with the open world. I think if they're going to continue down the semi-open world route, what they need to do is make it a little bit more populated and have more things to do in that open world, because it really was, for the most part, a point A to point B. That you didn't really do anything in that open world. You kind of just went from point A to point B. There was a couple of little things that you could kind of sideways off to, but there really wasn't a requirement to do so. So it felt pretty pointless. I think if they're going to continue down that route, then at least make the semi-open world sections a reason to be there. There wasn't really a reason to be there in 5. On that note, though,
see, I'm totally fine with the open world segments in Gears 5.
Yeah,
I really appreciate them trying to do something different.
Yeah,
to make, because with Gears 4 they played it pretty much safe. Don't get me wrong, I really did enjoy Gears 4. But it was their first Gears game after being handed the IP towards the studio. They renamed, they called themselves now the Coalition.
Yeah.
And it was their first Gears game, and they developed that game within 3 years, and it was great. It was, I really did enjoy Gears 4. It had the things you want from a Gears game, the epic set pieces, the big action moments, over the top action, and everything. I did enjoy Gears 4, but they played it safe. With Gears 5, they tried to put a coalition touch on Gears with that semi-open world approach, and I do appreciate them. What I would much rather see, though, is them really going back to its roots.
Horror.
Make it darker again, make it more horror-like. In the first Gears,
I wanted them to introduce a new beastie that we've never seen before, something that's been lurking in the depths, something that like the first time we saw the Berserker in Gears, where you just heard the screech of the Berserker in the halls, and then you saw Carmine getting completely mauled and ripped apart in the shadows.
Yeah,
you didn't actually see it happen, you just saw the shadows of him getting ripped apart. Like, that was, oh god, what is this? And then knowing that thing can kill you in one hit if you so much as make the wrong move, and all you can do is run away from it and try and shoot it from the back if you can.
Yeah,
that brought a level of kind of not so much horror, but a case of, oh god, like I don't want to do this. And that's kind of the thing that they need to kind of get back to, something that's going to kind of put fear into you again, like an enemy that like, what is this? And like just slowly creeps into it. You kind of wondering what it is, and it kind of slowly starts to manifest itself.
Exactly like that, and then have a jump scare in there, and I would definitely.
I think because we saw Marcus getting steadily older, I think they're getting close to the point where Marcus will be out of the game, so potentially even see Marcus's death.
That would be very daring, to kill off Marcus Phoenix.
He's getting there. He's getting there, and even to the point in Gears 4 where we saw he was completely non-combatant until JD turned up at his house, and then he was like, "Oh, blah," and he stood on like my tomatoes and things like that, and then he's like really old, and the only reason he goes back into it is to save his son. So by that point, though, you've got like, as we saw, Baird, and we've saw and Cole are also kind of aging and getting on there. Marcus is obviously very old at this point, so there's going to be a section, I think, at some point where I think JD will take the reins and be the face of Gears going forwards beyond Marcus Phoenix. But I think there will come a point where that happens, but they're also doing it in the way where he is aging, because let's ultimately not forget, Marcus Phoenix is just a human, unlike the likes of Master Chief, who's like some engineered, modified human variant, or Kratos, who's a demigod, or all of these other protagonists who have some form of superhuman ability. Marcus Phoenix is not. He's just a soldier. Always has been. He's just a meathead soldier that's aging. So at some point, Marcus will end. And I think we could start to see that. And again, it would be putting their own twist and allow them to take that artistic liberty with it. As long as they do the death right, like they did with Dom. As much as we pain
spoilers,
for Dom,
spoilers.
Come on. As much as we pain for his death and the way that occurred, if you look back at it now, you think that was a hell of a way to go out, and that was done right.
Yeah.
Like, the way they took that story out and the way they did that was done right. As much as people hated the fact that his character was no longer there, the way they actually did it was the right way to do it. Like, you go out with a bang. And I think Marcus should go out with a bang, but it's how do they do it, and how do they do it tastefully?
Yeah, I do totally agree with you. It would, but I feel like not having the option to bring Marcus Phoenix, and it be as a cameo or something back in a future Gears game. I don't know if they have the guts to do that. You know what I mean? It is.
I mean, they'll always have them in the multiplayer DLCs and the multiplayer sections and things like that.
That's true.
I think on a story element, like I said, he is just human. So at some point, I mean, his franchise is expanding.
Yeah.
They've showed him getting older. So you're going to have to think it's at some point, and especially the next game's not going to be like straight afterwards. It's going to be like a space of time that happened that we've missed, and then it's like another few years down the line. So yeah, I think it's almost that time.
It's almost.
It is.
It could be. It could definitely be. Yeah, listen, man. Gears is probably my favorite of the core stable Xbox IPs. As much as I enjoy Halo, it is for me. I'm a little torn between Fable and Gears. What would be my like favorite? But Gears just is a special game to me. It was like the first one never released in Germany because it was too gory.
With chainsaw weapons, yeah.
With chainsaw weapons and all the gut. Our dumbass government forbade it, and so yeah, we didn't get to enjoy Gears 1 and 2. Actually, Gears 3 was the first one that properly released. Luckily, I was traveling a lot, and I just bought Gears in the UK actually, and brought it over, and it was like I have such fond memories to playing the original trilogy.
Yeah, same. I grew up on it, especially on the 360, and that was the first real online time where I thoroughly enjoyed being in that community as well. Especially on the multiplayer side of things, when Gears first was hitting and playing the Canals map, it was me and my friend randomly played 2v2. And we come across two other actual friends playing with each other doing the same thing, and ended up befriending those, and then just having constant 2v2s against each other. It was just one of those great times. Yeah.
And I feel like Gears has this, and not a lot of games do that right, you know?
Yeah.
It has fantastic single player and a fantastic multiplayer. And even though, yes, the characters are those bro dudes, you know, big muscles and everything, the story actually really is good. You know, it has these incredible moments like the one you just spoiled from Gears 2.
2-decade-old spoiler.
But the dumb moment, like, it just hits you, you know, it has these... Even though it is an over-the-top action game, where you chainsaw your way out of a giant worm, and, you know, like, it has these moments, but it also has these like lovable characters, the high story moments that just hit you. It's the full package. The multiplayer is addictive as fuck. Horde mode is like is like a drug for me. It's like I just love it, and so I really cannot wait to see where they are going with this, with Gears 6. And yeah, man, it's not long anymore. It's like literally a little more than a month till the showcase. So what else do we expect to be there, man? You think we will see Fable again? Because I see that I'm with you, but I see that a lot of people in the community are torn about this, because they say, well, maybe they just skip it this year and next year, because then we have the full proper reveal along with the launch and everything.
I think they'll do a slightly longer gameplay reveal of it, like an actual gameplay reveal of it.
Yeah, continued gameplay in some sort of form. Yeah,
continued gameplay of some sort, and a release window. We know that they do the dev directs in January, so I think at that point then you'll see the release date for Fable for next year. But I think you'll see a release window, or coming 2025 or coming Q2 to whatever it is. You'll see some release window for Fable there. But I think we'll see Fable.
Yeah, I agree.
Gears, of course, now. Yeah,
I agree. I feel like honestly this year is gonna be the Xbox showcase where they come out swinging with huge AAA IPs. Because last year was a phenomenal showcase. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. But if you think about the big highlights outside of Fable being there, were all not like these super heavy hitters. Yes, Hellblade was in there, but we've seen Hellblade 3 or 4 times by the time they have shown it in the last trailer. And then we got things like South of Midnight, which I'm still super curious about. And we saw Clockwork Orange. But pardon me, Clockwork Revolution. Every freaking time. It's just because I really like Clockwork Orange, but anyway, Clockwork Revolution. But would you consider that like super AAA banger, like, you know, a system seller? Let's call it that, a system seller. I don't think so. And as great as the showcase was, because it just showed last year game after game, and every game with at least smaller snippets of gameplay outside of South of Midnight, Clockwork Revolution, we got a good idea what that game was gonna be like and look like and play like, and you know, we got those in there. But in terms of system sellers, outside of Starfield, which was not really part of the showcase, but it was with the Dev Direct right after, but you know what I mean? It's like, so, and this year I do have the feeling that they are coming out full swinging with system sellers. Gear 6, without a question, potential system seller. Fable, without a question, potential system seller. I truly believe we will see Perfect Dark for the first time properly. And that has that shine of, could be a system seller. I definitely feel like Call of Duty is going to be revealed.
Yeah, absolutely.
This year's Call of Duty, going to be revealed there. System seller. Then I'm just blanking on one right now.
Indiana Jones, will they ever released it?
Indiana Jones, system seller. You know, Indiana Jones definitely gonna be there. Absolutely. That's too big of an IP and too big of a game.
At Gamescom. We'll have another big group like Starfield.
We will probably play it at Gamescom. So.
There's going to be a lot of
you know what I mean? And I feel like maybe ZeniMax Online is finally going to show their next big game that they have been working on for 7 years now. It's like crazy amount of time. We just learned Doom, the next Doom. Potential system seller. So I feel like this year's gonna be about the real heavy hitters, you know? And there's multiple reasons to believe that. The first thing is, if you look at the development times, Fable has been in development for 7 years. Perfect Dark, 6 years. You know, these games have had a long ass time in development, so there's no reason to believe that they are not in any way, shape, or form in a playable or presentable state. Yeah, and now my freaking OBS my OBS just. I sure hope it won't cancel the stream. I think so. I wanted to change the gameplay because I ran out. Anyway, sorry, I got a little distracted by weird ass OBS. So, but my point is, it has been a long time for all those big games, you know, and there will still be like smaller games. Maybe we see a South of Midnight, which is probably more like in a AA space, yeah. And I don't want to take away from the quality by phrasing it like that, because most people probably don't even consider Hellblade 2 a system seller.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that's fair, because if you would like, with those visuals and that kind of gameplay that is like, you know, third-person action over-the-shoulder kind of game, and those visuals, you definitely have a system seller on your hand. But I feel like a lot of people don't or wouldn't consider it that. Could be, though. Anyway, but with Fable and Perfect Dark and Call of Duty and the next ZeniMax Online game and so on, you have those ginormous system sellers. I don't know, what do you think, man? What will be there? Will they focus on?
Yeah. I think you're right. I think it will be a lot of the big hitters, and seeing Call of Duty on the Xbox stage for the first time will give a different kind of thought process to people watching that show.
Yeah, definitely.
We're also likely to see, and I mean, obviously people will be probably okay, well, why don't we just give it a rest? But it's been a couple of years since we've had one, and that's Forza Horizon. Possibly see Forza Horizon there, because they do have two separate teams at Playground. They have Fable and they have Forza.
Yeah.
So there's a possibility that we'll see the new Forza Horizon there. And then we're also looking at, as we've mentioned, ID, not only Doom, but also potentially a Quake reboot. Then we're looking at potentially another Wolf. And then you've got...
I don't think we will see a Wolf. With Indiana Jones coming this year, I don't think Machine Games is gonna be ready to have another game in a shape where you can actually announce it, tease it, show it. I don't think so.
Yeah. But yeah, definitely maybe a Quake / or Doom. I would more prefer to see a new Quake than a new Doom, because I want to see the Quake IP be rebooted, especially with the modern engine. that modern engine they've used for Doom on a Quake would be phenomenal. And then, like you say, there's just so many more studios. We maybe see more of Clockwork Revolution, and that looked super far along when we first saw it. Like, that was the furthest along game that we saw at the showcase. That looked like it could release very soon. So I'm surprised if we don't see that. But I agree in that a lot of the titles that they could show off this year are Gears, a Fable, like indie. These are all big system seller games. Obviously, on top of that, then you've got your Call of Duty and
Gears,
even potentially mention maybe the World of Warcraft, or you just, it's a strange one to think about. But World of Warcraft, they've had discussions of trying to bring that to console. So maybe they announced.
And I don't know if you've seen this today. What it was announced? There's no BlizzCon this year. So where would Blizzard bring or show their games and their stuff if not on the Xbox stage?
Yeah, and if they've managed to get to a point where it's, because you can use the controller on World of Warcraft on PC, and apparently it works pretty well. So if they've got to a point where they're saying, we're confident it's going to come out on console, we can make an announcement that it's going to come to console. Maybe he's not even going to put a release date there, but in development now, like World of Warcraft's coming to console 2025, maybe, or something like that. that would be, especially for World of Warcraft people, that would be a big
Yeah.
thing for them as well, especially after seeing Final Fantasy 14 hit console as well on Xbox for the first time, having another gigantic MMO go on today. Be a massive thing, and that's another World of Warcraft still massive, another potential system seller for a console player. And then you look over the fact that there's just so many more studios where we haven't heard from yet. If State of Decay hits it off right?
You think State of Decay? It's gonna be
there? I
think
so. Well, it's been a while.
Oh, it's been a long time. They teased that in 2020. It was 4 years ago.
Yeah, I think it's about that. I think it's about time.
Yeah.
And that if that's done right, and if it's done the way we hope it's done, that could also be a system seller, believe it or not.
While I sure hope you are right, I am not sure, because when you look at State of Decay 1 and 2, and don't get me wrong, I loved both of them, played them to death. Even State of Decay 2 was like, or felt like an indie game at first. I mean, if you look at the support that they've shown to that game, now that they are part of Xbox Studios, they've continually supported and added and added and added. It's a massive game and everything. But it was like,
it was
definitely
last,
not in that
indie output.
Yeah. So even if they can bring it to that AAA kind of experience, not sure if people would consider it a system seller, but I sure hope I'm wrong, because State of Decay was absolutely awesome. Both of them, honestly. Like the first game, was built at a budget of $100,000. That's it.
Yeah.
And look at that game. Phenomenal for what it was.
But it's just, this is the thing as well with Xbox having like 40 studios, and a lot of those having multiple projects.
Yeah.
It's a big time for Xbox, and all of their studios now, including ActiBlaze and including Bethesda ZeniMax, and King on top of that as well. There's so many things that could be shown.
Yeah.
It's going to be.
And don't forget about the hardware.
The only thing is, how did they do it? How did they fit in so much?
Let's give them here the benefit of a doubt, because when you look at the last 3 showcases, they really learned their lessons. There was barely any game that was only presented with CGI. They always had like at least in-game trailers or gameplay. Along with it, there was barely any talking. You once or twice during the showcase, you see Phil and Sarah, and then once Todd Howard, and that's it. It was usually game after game, and everything was shown with gameplay. I feel like Xbox really has learned their lessons how to do such showcases, because just from a production standpoint of view, of course, everyone has different opinions about the actual games that were shown, but the way how they showed the games in the last 2 or 3 showcases was just spot on. Game after game and gameplay, and that's how you
I think it's just more trying to fit it all in now, because last year we had Xbox Bethesda.
Yeah.
Now we've got Xbox Bethesda ActiBlaze.
Yeah, they're not gonna call that yet. I think it's just gonna be the Xbox showcase.
Yeah, and all I mean more is just trying to fit all of the projects that are potentially far along enough to show into a singular showcase from all of those studios. It's going to be a case of, as they mentioned previously, what's closest to releasing, we'll show that.
Yeah.
Plus a couple of other ones that are maybe a smidge further along, but not many, and keep it focused on the ones that are closer to the 12 to 16 month cadence.
Yeah. Agree. I don't think that they are at this point anymore where they kind of have to reveal the complete roadmap that is coming in the next 4 or 5 years. since you have so many games now in that cadence. I mean, look at this year with Hellblade 2 coming in 3-4 weeks. 21st of May. And then Avowed and Indie and Stalker, and so, and then we continue into next year, which is definitely probably going to be Fable, Clockwork, South of Midnight. So we are at this point where we wanted Xbox to be for a long time now, and I think with all those games in the working, you're absolutely spot on if you say they don't have to reveal the entire roadmap. That's not long. This 1 month or 6 weeks or so will pass by really quick, and we will soon be in the real talks about predictions and everything. We're gonna have probably again a lot of special shows, and it's gonna be awesome, man. It's gonna be awesome. I can't wait for showcase season. Let us switch the subject for a moment and let's talk about Embracer. Embracer has been like a super weird company. First they buy all those studios, and then it turns out they can't handle them. They don't have the funding to do so. Had a lot of layoffs, the stock dropped and everything. This week they announced that the Embracer Group is going to split into 3 separate companies. They will. The Embracer Group will now become 3 entities. One is called Asmodee, one is called Coffee Stain and Friends, and one is called Middle-earth Enterprises and Friends. Some weird ass naming. So Asmodee is going to be the publisher and distributor of board games, trading card games, and such things. They will have the Coffee Stain and Friends that will focus on PC, console, and mobile games, including the community-driven free-to-play kind of games. And the Middle-earth Enterprises and Friends is the creative powerhouse AAA development for PC and publishing. They will own The Lord of the Rings, Tomb Raider IPs, Dead Island, Metro, Kingdom Come Deliverance, and such things. So basically that's the entity where Crystal Dynamics and so on is included. And that along with this kind of weird split, it screams like, okay, the company is preparing to divest a certain part of their business. They split into 3 entities. Now it makes it much easier to sell off 1 or 2 of those entities, and everyone is already in acquisition talks again. So because obviously the Middle-earth Enterprise is the one everyone is excited for, and given that Crystal Dynamics is helping with Perfect Dark, and Eidos is involved in Fable, and they have this very close relationship to Xbox. That I wanted to real quick discuss this with you. Would it make sense now that Microsoft doesn't have to acquire the entire Embracer Group? They can just buy this one entity of them. What do you think about all of this? Talked for a long time.
I mean, it'll certainly give the likes of Crystal and the Eidos definitely more stability, especially if they purchase it, and you get it for a significantly cut price deal as well. So, I mean, financially for them, it would definitely make sense. They've got the money to use, the working capital to use on purchases still. But yeah, it makes sense for a number of reasons, and most of that is down to just the way that Embracer are preparing themselves and working. And I think ultimately they do want to make it easier for acquisition or potential investors to invest in certain segments as opposed to the entire group. So yeah, it could go one of two ways. They do it for the purpose of divestment, or do it for the purpose of, okay, now we have 3 entities, people can invest in only one section of the group as opposed to just all of the group. So okay, we'll invest into Middle Earth and Friends, or Coffee Scene and Friends, or the first one, the publishing arm. Instead of going, okay, well, the entirety of Embracer is what we're investing in, which is maybe not all of it is what we're interested in. We're only interested in this section of Embracer. So definitely, it could go anyway. Depends on how that pans out. I don't think it would be a costing that would alert regulators either. I don't think it'd be high enough to have regulators really be concerned about it. Especially with the way that the companies are currently being run and what they present to the wider public. As Crystal Dynamics or Eidos Montreal, they're not a massive kind of impact on the large gaming sector. So it's not something that would concern them. So yeah, it should be a straightforward acquisition. It's just getting the price right.
I agree. And usually I'm not one that really speculates about these rumors of acquisitions and everything, but this move by Embracer definitely screams that they are looking for an option to sell off certain parts of their business. And there's no denying that there is a close relationship already existing with Microsoft and the Middle Earth group now. It would make it would kind of make sense for Microsoft, because we know they are looking into further acquisitions and different ways to grow. And with that acquisition, they would not only get great studios like Crystal, that basically already developed their game, Perfect Dark, but they would also get the hand of something that they are currently not having, and that is pop culture IP with Lord of the Rings. And
question for you with regard to Crystal. As we know, the initiative is still around, still creating and collaborating with Crystal. If they purchase Crystal, would they merge all of the developers into the initiative and fold Crystal? Or would they continue Crystal and fold Crystal? Would they fold initiative and merge those other people, that initiative, into Crystal?
That's I don't know. That's a lot of speculation right now. I really don't know how they would handle that. So far, Xbox hasn't really merged studios after acquisitions, closed them, or anything.
The only reason I say it is because Initiative themselves, they're not the biggest of studios that Microsoft have got. They're quite small in its footprint, and they haven't released anything as yet. Now, Crystal Dynamics are massive in terms of what their pedigree, and they're already working with the Initiative. So would it make sense to have 2 separate studios that ultimately are still working on the same IPs going forward, potentially?
I don't know. Don't know how they would handle that, but it definitely kind of would make sense, because Phil has talked about this previously, that he doesn't really like the idea of making games in IPs that they don't own and that they don't have control over. That's probably the reason why we haven't seen Xbox do a lot of these pop culture IPs go into the Spider-Mans or into the Star Wars universe and so on. They kind of do that now with Blade coming out, obviously, and Indiana Jones now. They kind of have, obviously, a working relationship with Marvel there, on how to do that.
You know what I think of why the reason for that, the Disney collaboration, more specifically,
Yeah.
was, I think, primarily down to the success of Sea of Thieves, Disney collaboration.
Probably. And then you could also argue, and I've seen that, and I'm not sure if it's a fair argument, but the pop culture IPs that they bring out now, like Indiana Jones and Blade, are both not like the biggest pop culture IPs. I mean, we are old dudes. You know, we remember a Indiana Jones, but there's an entire generation that doesn't care about indie the way we do, and Blade just doesn't carry the same name like the Avengers, like Spider-Man or Star Wars, or you know what I mean. Nonetheless, I'm glad that they do it. So I'm not saying it's a fair argument, but I've seen that argument a lot. And of course, having an IP like Lord of the Rings in there, granted, it's also kind of getting old. Lord of the Rings movies, 20 years old now. A little more than that. But yeah. So yeah, let's see where this goes. Dutch, let us wrap this up by going to the community questions, because we have a couple of great ones this week, as we always do. Our community sends in great questions, man. So, Dave Ramos sends in a question. And by the way, if you are new to the show, we always do that, so you can send in your questions on any given Wednesday. Usually we put up posts on YouTube, on Twitter, and so on, so you can send us your questions or topics and things that you would like us to discuss. So yeah, Dave Ramos did this week, and he sends in a question and says, first things first, if it hasn't been said lately, allow me to bring it back to the spotlight. You two are I don't even know how to pronounce it. Bonafide. Braggadocious worthy members of the community, bang on. So first, thank you. And now to his question. AI is the biggest change coming to gaming. We know AI can already do amazing resolution, upscaling, and frame generation. What is one area you would like AI to improve outside of those two applications? Physics, lighting, character movement, hair, facial animation. Let's hear it.
Just for me, simply the way we've saw the weather implementation on Flight Sim, we're using AI and cloud technology. That would be awesome to see in games a little bit more realistic weather implementations and natural weather phenomenon based in games using AI, which brings its own physics, like raining, lightning, and wind gusts and things like that. That would also have an effect on the environment. But primarily, the one thing is making NPCs more realistic and more lifelike.
Yeah, I was just about to say exactly that. Yeah.
Yeah, the world is more realistic to be around, and random things will happen because of it. And it's more realistic conversation with NPC instead of just these bottled conversations where you speak to them and they never say anything different. It's always the same stuff. Whereas you can speak to them and have a conversation. Something's just happened outside the gates and they know about it, so they'll talk about it, and then a free-flowing conversation happens. Or you've just stole something and the guy goes, "Come on, put that back. I saw you. This is the third time you've done it," and it kind of keeps track of how many times you stole something. But it's just more lifelike AI that kind of interacts with what is actually happening in the game.
Absolutely. Yeah, that would also be probably my number one. Outside of that, I think where AI could also do great things is in physics simulation. You know, when you talk about destruction, when you talk about things, how like the environment interacts with you. That take a lot of, when you walk through foliage and it moves, and things like that take a lot of resources, because you have to have like a lot of collisions rendered out and so on. So I think in that regard, AI could also probably do a lot of good things. With lighting, I'm not sure if you want a really realistic lighting. I'm not sure how. Maybe there is something where AI could help make ray tracing more performant, but then at the end of the day, I think that comes down to upscaling and frame generation again. But yeah, NPCs is probably more lifelike worlds is the big thing. So Andreas is sending in a question, more like a topic. He wanted to us to talk about the Embracer split. I think we covered that already during the show, so thank you.
Yeah.
And then we have Sergeant Sentinel Gaming sends in a question. What do you think about all the news coming out regarding the cancelled DLCs for GTA, particularly the one where Trevor was supposed to be undercover with the FBI?
GTA Online money talks is exactly what happened.
This is unfortunately the case. I would have much rather preferred single player DLCs.
Instead we got 45 heist quests.
Yeah, exactly. And it's because of GTA Online is a printing money making machine, It's like insane if you think about how much money they made off of GTA Online. There's no wonder that they.
I don't know how they're going to implement it. Is when GTA 6 launches and the next GTA Online launches, how they're going to do that. There's going to be so many people so pissed off that their car collection and their property collection and all that stuff isn't in the next one, and do they move over? And there's going to be a lot of people that have spent fortunes on online there.
There we are again at the discussion we had last week about games as a service and sustainability, and how hard it is to move people away from a games as a service title, which basically GTA Online is, if you have spent years and years and tons of money into that game, what would be the thing that makes you want to move away from that and just leave that behind? If they are smart, they have some sort of carryover, maybe not exactly the cars you bought and everything, but that there is maybe some reward for you having those and moving over, something like that. I'm not sure. But yeah, man, it's a shame that we never got a travel DLC. I would have loved to play that. Would have definitely preferred that over the over everything that GTA Online provided. Wasn't a big fan of that. I don't know what it is. It's just, for me, love GTA 5,
but then it was just the same old, and then it was getting people together to do the heists, which isn't easy. The older you get, you got to get a team of 4 to do the heist every time, and then it's hours to do the heist at one point, and it's more of a young man's game. That
that's so true. I totally agree. But yeah, Dutch. Let's wrap this up. It has been an absolute blast this week again. As every week, I want to say a big thank you to this entire community, to everyone who joined us here today to chat with us about gaming and talk with us about the things that happen in the world of gaming, pun intended. And of course, a big thank you to everyone who listened after the fact or on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, wherever you're listening, thank you for lending us your time and your ear. And definitely do not miss this Saturday, Dutch. Let everyone know again.
Yes, the Community Indie Showcase 2024, our 4th annual showcase, will be on the 27th. So this Saturday, 7 p.m. UK, 8 p.m. European, 2 p.m. Eastern. Over 60 games, just over 2 hours long. Again, we've got awesome special guest Aaron Greenberg turning up again. We've got amazing content creators in Boxenberger, Deadly Headley, Pong Soul and Steel Rain, and Everborn Saga, and Asante, and yeah, and of course developers involved, Thomas Salah and Joe, among many
Aaron
others.
Greenberg is going to be there.
Yeah. So it's gonna be an awesome show. I thoroughly hope you enjoy it. Again, every year we do things bigger and better. We've invested this year in whole new graphics overlays and a fancy new look. It's completely at my cost. Make absolutely zero from it. It's all for the community to enjoy looking at some amazing indie games and spreading a big spotlight on those indie developers as well that otherwise wouldn't get that spotlight. I hope you all enjoy it when you tune in on Saturday, and of course let me know that you enjoyed it or didn't, or what you would like to see change if that is the case. Another good thing is we are giving away 2 copies of 2 games, simply for watching the showcase. So all you've got to do, I've got a tweet out. You've got to like that tweet and then send a screenshot of the game that you see on the showcase that you're most hyped for, and you're in with a chance of winning either Tales of Kanzira Zhao. We've got 1 US copy, 1 UK EU copy, or Bulwark Falconeer Chronicles. Again, 1 US copy, 1 EU UK copy.
Awesome.
There you go. So tune in, share the game that you like the most, and you're with a chance of winning the game.
Sweet. Yeah, Dutch, I can't wait for it. So really looking forward to Saturday. We will play the trailer once more as an outro today.
Right.
Absolutely. And other than Saturday, we won't have a podcast next week because I'm out of the country next week. Yeah. So, but we will be back in 2 weeks. But more importantly, this Saturday, the Community Indie Showcase. Again, thanks everyone for joining us here today. And we see you guys soon. And don't forget to game on.
glory. You sing a pretty song.